Hello and welcome everyone to another session of Office Hours. My name is Adrian. I am the CEO and founder of Groundhogg. It's Office Hours number 59 today. Really getting up there in terms of the number of these that we do. One a week for 59 weeks. That's pretty fun. So today we're going to be talking about knowing your numbers. Specifically, we'll be talking about how you can use Groundhogg to get the full picture of how your customers are going through their customer journey to a purchase. And you can also use it for other things as well, but we're going to be today focusing on tracking the customer journey to the point where they actually become a customer. They give you money is what I would qualify as becoming a customer, or at least signing a contract or something of that nature. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Of course, always open to any questions to this particular topic and any other questions that you might have about Groundhogg. This session is, of course, being recorded and will be posted to YouTube as well as Groundhogg Academy. So if you have to leave early, don't fret. The recording is going to be made available. Also, if you are asking questions, just be aware that they will be recorded forever and ever and ever. So don't share any sort of sensitive information or anything of that nature. If you do have a question, this is a Facebook Live, which means that there is a live comment section going on, which is basically just a live chat. You can go ahead and you can type your questions into that comment section, and you can let us know that you're here by saying hello. I see Timothy says hi. Welcome to the call, Timothy. If you have questions, put them there as well. What happens is I will look at that question, which is why you keep seeing me dart back and forth from the camera to the chat here. And I will repeat your question so everybody who's not constantly watching the chat will have the benefit of hearing it, and then we'll go and deep dive into an answer. And if I don't have an answer for you, I will point you in the direction where you can go find one. So today, our topic is all about knowing your numbers, using funnels to track different customer journeys and learn more about how your customers buy. I recently went through a kick of implementing a whole bunch of different funnels that are purely for the purpose of tracking how people purchase from us and how they go through that purchase journey. And funnels are a really interesting way that you can go about tracking customer behavior without actually having to do a whole bunch of automation setups. So we're going to explore that concept a little bit. And hopefully this one is going to provide you a little bit of additional context so you can know your numbers better and you can learn better how your customers are ending up on your checkout pages if you have a checkout page. So the important concept here is that Groundhogg, in addition to developing super awesome automation and sending a whole bunch of emails and doing other crazy stuff, it can also be used as an analytics tool. Kind of like how you would log into Google Analytics and they're going to give you a whole bunch of numbers. Groundhogg has a whole reporting area that'll give you a ton of analytics on how people are consuming your content and interacting with your funnels. You can develop funnels that are purely there in order to track how people go through your various different customer journeys that you have. So step one is identifying what those are. And then step two is starting to track them. So funnels track essentially the customer journey from point A to point B. All funnels, you put a bunch of people in the top, a few people come at the bottom. Those people are hopefully customers by that point. We have point A to point B, and we are going to create funnels that are solely purposed on tracking people from point A to point B so we can see how certain customer journeys perform against other customer journeys. So we are going to create a funnel that just tracks the customer journey. To do that, I'm going to come up with a unique example of the kind of journey that we might have. So consider for a moment that someone is signing up for a lead magnet. And we are an education company. So I'm going to use an education company because I think that's one of the majority groups that we actually have in our community as our education entrepreneurs. A lot of people from the Lift LMS and LearnDash communities here. So I'm going to use education as an example. Now, the business model for education companies varies, but let's just say that we offer a flat membership for all access to all of our courses, because that's really easy to define. So our product is a flat rate membership, all access to all our courses. So someone becomes a customer when they purchase this membership. Now we have to identify the possible methods based on all of our content that someone would be able to reach that point. So the obvious initial customer journey that we have is that they just end up on our website somehow and they go buy because your copy is super convincing or your sales page video is super convincing. Anything like that. That's the immediate one, and you can do that kind of tracking with Google Analytics. So that's the first type of customer journey. We'll call it Journey A. So Journey A, they end up on your site and they buy right away. We don't really need to do any tracking for that. Because Google Analytics will give us that number if you have it set up. I recommend using something like Monster Insights for that. But we also might have a couple of other journeys that are possible that people might go through. So Journey B. Might be something like we offer a free course. So I'm going to put up here a lead magnets column. Or just free stuff. Let's say we have a PDF download and they also took the free course, or we offer a free course as a lead magnet and a free lesson. So Journey B might be they go and they download and then they buy. I'm going to organize this a little bit better. There we go. So they end on our site and they buy right away. B, so they download a PDF and then they buy. They take the free course and then they buy. Another one would be they do the PDF, then the free course, and then buy. They might do the course, the PDF, and then buy. So there are all different ways or a variety of different methods that a customer might consume your content in a variety of different ways so that they get to the ending purchase point. So the point of which they download the product that you have. And that might be a single combination of they do the PDF and then the course and then they buy right away immediately after that. They might do the PDF first, then the course, then buy. They might do the course, then the PDF, then buy. And there's all these various different customer journeys. But here's the thing. We don't want to set up entire funnels for each individual one of these journeys because that'd be a lot of work and a lot of emails to write that we don't necessarily need to. So what we do is we can compartmentalize these various different journeys into small funnels, and then we can create a number of funnels that are purely for the purpose of analytics and tracking the various different ways that this happens. I should mention that there are a couple prerequisites to accomplishing this. You are going to need the conditional logic extension for this when we actually go into the implementation method. So here are a couple journeys, or a few journeys identified. I encourage you to open up a blank Google Doc yourself, come up with your product or the point of which they become a customer, the free stuff that people can interact with before they become a customer, and then identify all of the different combinations of ways that they can end up or they can go through your process before becoming a customer. For a real world example, I'll just give you an example of some of the stuff that we have going on. So I'll do a little insert line here, and I'll do Groundhog. So, I mean, our product, we consider when someone becomes a customer when they purchase a plan specifically. So anything from our basic plan to our agency or WAS plans. If someone purchases an individual extension, we don't consider that them being a full customer because there's a lot more value to be had in our plans, and we want them on a plan. We don't necessarily just want them purchasing the individual extensions. We want them on the plan because that's the best value. So our product, or we consider a customer when someone purchases a plan, the free things that we offer. So we have a number of free courses, specifically our Quick Start course. Our core, so Groundhog Core is free. And there is a method to go install that before someone purchases, so we want to be able to track who installs first and then goes and purchases later. We also have, it's not free, but it's our $1 14-day trial is something that we do offer. So here are a few examples of the free things that we offer. So our free Quick Start course, Groundhog Core, and our $1 trial. Those are the three main interaction value points that someone can interact Groundhog with before making a buying decision. So the various different customer journeys that we can offer would look something like the follows, or the following. So someone would obviously take the free course. This is a very popular one. Free course, install core, so the free plugin, and then buy is a popular one. We also have the 14-day trial and then buy immediately. We have the free course and then buy immediately. We have free course and then install core and then buy. So these are various different customer journeys that people can go through in order to end up purchasing, and these are the various different touch points that we have, not including the one that's just like they end up at the site and then buy right away, which happens sometimes. But so these are the main touch points that happen ahead of a purchase or someone becoming a customer. So my suggestion to you is you take a few minutes at the end of this call, you identify when you consider someone a customer, you put together your free stuff or the interaction points that you have with customers before they purchase, or that you have with contacts before they become a customer, and then you can identify in your head the number of journeys or the combination of touch points that someone can go through before they become a customer. And that will help you do the following, which is we're going to go and we're going to set up tracking for these various different customer journeys, taking into account our education company example here. So to reiterate, we offer a PDF, a free course. They can download the PDF, then buy the free course, then buy the PDF, then the free course, then buy. lots of different combinations that people can go through in order to achieve some sort of outcome. So what I'm going to assume next is that for this, you have advanced features, you have the conditional logic extension installed. You're going to need both of those. I'm also going to assume that you have already gone ahead and you have set up the various different funnels for each of these various different things. So you've already gone ahead and you've gone and set up your lead magnet download funnel. You've gone and set up your free course magnet funnel. You've gone ahead and you've done all that stuff elsewhere. And right now what we want to focus on is how do we check our analytics and how do we identify specific customer journeys within the various different combinations of all of those things. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a new funnel, and I am going to choose to start off with the PDF download and then buy. So I just want to know from a funnel that's going to take me a few minutes to set up, how many people download the PDF first and then end up becoming a customer. We're going to have to also exclude people who download the PDF after they become a customer already, because we don't want those people in this funnel, because we don't want to count them because they've already bought. And that's what the conditional logic extension is for. So when you're going ahead and you're creating this analytic funnel, you're going to go ahead and you're just going to start from scratch. And I'm going to name this funnel track PDF download to purchase. So I want to know people who just download the PDF and then end up purchasing. So I have a new user. I'm going to delete that eventually. I'm going to start it off with a tag applied benchmark. And I'm going to call this downloaded PDF. I'm going to choose my downloaded PDF tag. In your lead magnet download funnel, which you should already have set up based on the Quick Start course or our other free courses, you should be applying a tag that says they download the PDF when they click that download link. That is the tag that you're going to reference here. So you should already have that funnel set up elsewhere. We are going to be pulling in data from that funnel based on the tag. So once they download the PDF, we are going to put them into this funnel. We are then going to just stick in a delay timer here because we actually don't need to do anything, because our other funnels will be doing that already. So our other funnels are out there doing that and taking care of the follow-up and other stuff. So we don't need to think about them. We're going to break it up. We're just going to add a delay timer, and we're just going to call it wait. And this can be an indefinite amount of time. We don't really need to do anything at this point. Nothing needs to go in here because we're only using this funnel for analytics, not actually for automation. I know that may seem counterintuitive, but hear me out. So what we're going to do next is we are going to add another benchmark, another tag applied benchmark here, and we're just going to call this one becomes a customer. So if you're using like Lifter LMS, or you're using WooCommerce or Really Simple Payments or anything like that, we are going to be using whatever tag you are applying that identifies them as a customer. I am just going to select a customer tag that I already have set up in here. But this should be the tag that you are applying in another funnel or in somewhere else that identifies this person as a customer. So becomes a customer, someone where we want to identify a specific conversion event from one of your customer journeys. I do have a question. I have a question from Fashion Buyers Network. I'm just going to quickly take that question. Is it the applying of tags that we are confused with? How do we identify when a tag should be added, or is it automatic? I'm going to come back to that question in a moment. I will say that these tags, so these blue benchmarks here that are tags or tag applied benchmarks, what is happening here is that they are listening for tags which are added elsewhere in Groundhogg or in WordPress. So if you apply a tag in another funnel, that funnel will trigger this particular funnel because the tag has been applied here. Or similarly, if you are using something like WooCommerce, and you are adding tags when someone purchases a product using the Groundhog integration for WooCommerce, then when those tags are applied when that person purchases a product, similarly, that's what's going to happen in this funnel. These benchmarks will trigger because that tag was applied to the contact. Hopefully that makes sense. You manually need to go configure the tags that are added when someone purchases something or downloads something or registers for something. That you have to go set that up in other funnels. For this example, we're assuming that you have already done so. We're not going through that. Right now, we are assuming you have all of your other funnels and tagging and all that stuff set up. And now we want to know your numbers and make sure that you understand the analytics of what is exactly happening. So for this funnel, we are tracking the PDF download, and then we want to know how many people download the PDF and then become a customer. And this is where the conditional logic comes in, which it doesn't look like I actually have active on this site. So let me go quickly activate that. There we go. So we recently allowed the conditional logic to filter whether benchmarks can actually be completed or not, which has actually been really useful for this particular process. Because one of the things that we want to be able to do is we don't want people who have already become a customer entering this funnel if they downloaded the PDF. So we have this customer one here, this customer tag. We want to track when they get that tag. So that means at the top of the funnel, we want to exclude people who already have the customer tag. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to enable that conditional logic there. And we are going to complete if the contact passes any condition. And we want to make sure that anyone who's completing this benchmark does not have the customer tag. So we are going to choose has none from the drop down here because we want to make sure they don't have any of these tags, and we are going to select our customer tag. I'm going to go ahead and save that configuration. So allow someone to enter this funnel if they don't have the customer tag and they get the downloaded PDF tag, and then we'll be able to track that they actually become a customer later on. And what this is going to do now is, let's go ahead and activate this funnel. What this is going to be able to allow us to do is we're going to be able to open up the report for this particular funnel, and we're going to see a few things. Number one is we're going to see the conversion rate, which is probably the most important thing, the number of people that converted, and we're going to be able to filter that based on date range. So I want to see between August and September, the number of people that downloaded the PDF and then became a customer. That's going to give me a really simplified conversion rate so I can know if there's some stuff that needs to be tweaked or if there is an opportunity or we're missing an opportunity within those two interactions. Hopefully I'm making sense and hopefully you're able to follow along. I see a couple of questions coming up, so let me go and tackle those, and hopefully we'll be able to move on after that. Andrew Zimble is asking, are tags universal? I mean, if I put a tag in one program, not Groundhog, will Groundhog read that tag? No, unfortunately, that's not how it works. So the Groundhog tags are much different than tags used in other programs. If you use tags in like posts, for example, you have like post tags here. Those are very much not the same, and Groundhog will not read those tags. So the only tags that Groundhog knows about are the ones that are actually in Groundhog. Hopefully that answers your question, Andrew. Fashion Buyer has a follow-up. They are asking when you need to understand benchmarks versus tags. All right, so there's a question about what are benchmarks versus what are tags. I will answer that in the Q&A portion. I'm gonna have to follow up with you on that one. I'll get to that, but I do want to finish our topic first. So let's recap what we just did in terms of analytics here. So we wanted to create a funnel that would be able to provide us a conversion rate and some additional tracking points based on a specific customer journey that's happening in a number of different funnels that we've already set up. So we have our PDF download funnel, we have our free course funnel, we have our purchase funnel, we have all of that stuff set up elsewhere, but we want to know specifically, all right, so who stopped at point A first, or who stopped in this funnel, and then who stopped in this funnel, and how do we correlate that, and how do we get a conversion rate to understand the number of people that did this point A, then point B thing. So the customer journey that we just identified is this one here. So they downloaded a PDF, and then they bought. We want to know the number of non-customers who first download the PDF and then purchase, because we can assume that that correlates to something in the PDF, or the follow-up following that PDF was an influence in their purchasing decision. So, and that is exactly what this funnel does. So it's just 3 steps. We have our tag applied benchmark. For when someone downloads the PDF, we are excluding anybody from this benchmark who is already a customer, because they can download the PDF after they're already a customer. We don't want them in this funnel. We don't want them in this report, because they're going to skew the results. We are just going to add in a delay timer to break up the funnel, because we need that, because that's how Groundhogg works. And then we are going to be listening for when that person becomes a customer, and that is going to allow us to identify a specific conversion rate for when someone goes through that process. And that is going to allow us to easily identify where the gaps are in our marketing. Super powerful stuff right there. So let's do it again for the sake of brevity. Let's do a little bit more complicated one. Let's do the one where they enter the course, then they download the PDF, and then they purchase. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new funnel for that. Add new. Start from scratch. So this one we are going to track free course, then PDF, then they buy. That is the funnel that we are now going to be tracking. We're going to get rid of our new user benchmark. We don't need that. We want a tag applied benchmark that goes at the top. We want another one here. We are just going to put a delay timer here. So this one, so the first one that we're doing is someone registers for the free course. Again, assuming that these tags have already been created and are already being used in other funnels to facilitate the customer journey. We have a delay timer. It doesn't really matter what this delay timer is configured for. You may want to add a little bit of automation in here, although it's not necessarily necessary, because again, this funnel is for analytic purposes. We have a tag applied here. So this one is now going to be our PDF tag, because we want to track the people who then go ahead and they download the PDF. We're going to add a new step, add a new delay timer, and then we're going to add our final benchmark, which is a tag applied benchmark. And this tag applied benchmark is going to be when they become a customer. Okay, so this one has 3 benchmarks instead of 2, because we are tracking this specific customer journey now. So for the free course, we want to go ahead and enable that. We want to include anybody that is not a customer. And we also want to exclude people who have already downloaded the PDF, because we are tracking the people who then do the free course, then PDF, then becomes a customer. So we want to make sure that anyone who's entering this funnel is registered to the free course first. So exclude customers and exclude anybody who's already downloaded the PDF. In our PDF tag, we select our downloaded PDF, and then becomes a customer. We select our customer tag. And now we have this customer journey ready to be tracked. So when they register for the free course, they're not a customer and they have not downloaded the PDF already. Again, these tags already being used in other funnels that you've already set up, assuming. Then they can enter this funnel knowing that the only action they have taken so far is registering for the free course. If they then go purchase or then go download the PDF, then they go ahead and do that, and then they can go ahead and become a customer. And that is how you can track a 3-step customer journey versus just the 2-step customer journey that we identified a little bit earlier. When we go to the reporting for this, we're going to be able to see the 3 benchmarks reflected. We're going to be able to see the number of people that show up in each column. We're going to be able to see the conversion rate from free course to downloads to become a customer, the number of contacts that actually went through this particular customer journey. Lots of great stuff that we're going to be able to see as a result of setting up this relatively simple analytics funnel. Great stuff. I'm going to go ahead and blabbering. I'm going to open the floor to questions about how exactly this process works. If anybody is curious about or anything is not clear about setting up an analytics funnel, then please do tell or do ask questions in the chat. I am currently looking at it, which is why I'm not looking at the camera. So go ahead and ask your questions. I'll be quiet for 30 seconds or so. If there's no questions, then I'm going to do wrap up for the topic, and we're going to move into our open Q&A session. All right, so I'm not seeing any questions come in, so I'll wrap up the topic and we'll move on to Q&A. So to wrap up, I highly recommend that you take 5 minutes at the end of this call to do a little bit of brainstorming about your business. So step 1 is identify when you consider someone is a converted customer. For us, that is when someone purchases a plan. For you, it might be when someone purchases a membership, registers for a specific course, when they sign some sort of contract using our contracts extension. It can be really anything, as long as when they take that or take that action, you consider that person converted. After they're converted, or you've identified the conversion point, go ahead and identify all of the various different touch points that they can interact with your company before taking an action to convert. So this can be free stuff that they do. It can be joining a Facebook group. It can be some sort of chat thing. It can be a variety of different actions that they can take, but include all touch points, or rather key touch points that can happen before someone becomes a customer. And then essentially what you have to do is you just have to go through it iteratively and come up with the most probable customer journeys that someone can go through before ending up on that conversion step. So they download this, they register for that, they take this free course, they install the free plugin, they can do all of these various different things before they buy, and that will enable you to go ahead and start creating tracking and analytics funnels based on stuff that you have set up elsewhere just by using these tags as reference. All right. So I hope that was helpful to a lot of you. It's kind of an interesting way to use Groundhogg versus the traditional just setting up automated emails and all of that good stuff. I think knowing the numbers is half the battle when it comes to business. Knowing your numbers can really make business a lot easier, especially when you know that certain things are underperforming when you think they are performing adequately or overperforming. All right, Q&A period. So I did have a question from Passersby a little bit earlier. She or they were asking, we need to understand benchmarks versus tags. So the difference between benchmarks and tags are what Groundhogg uses to categorize specific contacts with specific interests or groupings. For example, you might have a tag that's like male and female. So anybody who is male might have the male tag, or if they have the female tag, they are female. And if you have gender specific marketing, then you'd be able to target those specific audiences with that specific marketing. Tags are used to group contexts into similar categories, interests, groups, whatever. In funnels, when you have a benchmark, we have a couple of benchmarks to choose from. And one of those benchmarks is when a tag is either added to a contact record or removed. Now, this doesn't mean tags and benchmarks are the same thing. This just means that the benchmarks are able to reference a contact's tags to add them to a specific funnel when one is either applied or removed. Similarly, in the Actions tab, you can apply or remove tags from the contact, again, encouraging actions possibly that you might have in other funnels. So the benchmarks and actions in the funnel are not the same as tags. They're simply be able to modify or listen for specific contacts tags outside of the funnel already. And tags are just what we use to easily identify groups of specific contacts. Hopefully that answers your question. It's really just a categorization method. All right, so the floor is currently open for question and answer. That means that all questions, whether pertaining to the topic that we talked about or anything, are fair game. There are no such thing as silly questions. Everybody on this call is at a different stage in their experience with Groundhogg and marketing automation in general. I want to make this as inclusive as possible. And guaranteed that if you think you have a silly question, you should ask it anyway, because there's at least 5 other people that have the exact same question, and it can certainly benefit the whole group. So I'm going to pause for 30 seconds. I'm going to let the audience mull it over and think about any questions. And then when you have a question, go ahead and type it out in the chat area, and I will then be able to repeat it and give you an answer. Michael Mills is asking, I see the tool for page viewed. So page viewed is one of the benchmarks that we offer in the advanced features plugin. Can you track that in stats, kind of like HubSpot, to see where the visitor is viewing? So no. So the page visited benchmark is more of like a one-time thing. So if you have a specific page as part of the customer journey, then you'll be able to track in a funnel that they visited that specific page. But it's not like the live real-time page tracking stuff that you get with HubSpot. For that, I'd recommend using an actual dedicated analytics tool like Google Analytics, where they provide that sort of real-time tracking. And we use Monster Insights as the plugin that we use to identify the different journeys or different page journeys that people take. Timothy's asking a question, some random questions. If you schedule a broadcast to a tag, it gives a number of people it goes to. After scheduling the broadcast, if new people are added to that tag, will the broadcast go to those people new? No. So once the broadcast is scheduled, it gets scheduled to the number of people that had that tag at that time. If someone gets that tag after the fact, they will not get the new broadcast. There are a number of reasons for this. Not only just that once the broadcast is scheduled, it's already added to the event queue, so it's not exactly listening for new people. So no. Once you schedule a broadcast, that the list or the number of people that get that broadcast is set. If you need to send it to any new people that get the tag, then you need to identify those people in a different way. Hopefully that answers your question, Timothy. So the floor is currently open for questions. I suppose I should demo to Michael how the page visited benchmarks works. So there's a page visited benchmark that we have here. It's this big eye. And essentially the way that it works is that there's a page tracking strip that's on the front end. We don't track every single page that's visited because that would kind of like explode the database. And you know, when you're on WordPress, we're very space conscious about how much space on a server that Groundhogg is actually consuming. And if we tracked every single page visit, that would kind of just explode the size, and we don't want to do that to your website because that would suck. So if you want to track page visits, get a dedicated analytics tool like Google Analytics Setup or something like that, maybe Clicky, Hotjar, stuff like that. But we do offer the page visited benchmark, which essentially allows you to trigger automation when someone visits a specific page. So you're able to type in here the link of the page that you want tracked. You can choose a partial match or an exact match based on this. And when someone visits that page and they have their contact tracking cookie enabled, then you'll be able to trigger automation. That's how the page visited benchmark works, Timothy. You can use this, absolutely, in context with a specific customer journey. So if you want to identify the number of people that go to the home page, then go to the pricing page, and then purchase immediately, then you'd be able to use the page visitor for that as long as they already have the tracking cookie enabled. So you wouldn't be able to do this for cold traffic, only people who have already signed up. Timothy has a follow-up question. After scheduling a broadcast, if you change the email or SMS, will the broadcast send with the updated version of the email? Yes. So if you update an email after scheduling it before it actually gets sent, it will send the most recent version of said email or SMS. So the content of the email is not locked in before you actually send it. So you can edit it all the way up to even halfway through the sending of the broadcast. You can still edit the email, and anyone else who gets it will get the updated version. So that's something cool. So you don't have to worry about that. Timothy. Michael Mills is asking, in your experience, how long does it take AWS to verify and change your account from Sandbox to the full version? Generally happens within 24 hours. You should receive an email notification once your AWS is approved to go from Sandbox to production. We actually have an article about this on our documentation site. AWS. So there are recommended answers to questions for moving from AWS Sandbox to production. You can answer these questions wrong. So number one, if you are requesting production access, always tell them that you're sending transactional emails. Technically, you're not lying because AWS will send WordPress transactional emails, WooCommerce transactional emails, and all that stuff for you. You'll also be sending marketing emails, but they're pretty sus when it comes to people who send marketing emails primarily. So always choose transactional. Your website URL that you put in that form does matter because they actually check the domain reputation of that, even though they don't tell you that they do, but there most certainly definitely are. So there's a few ideas on the best website URL that you can provide to them, and you should keep your use case description down to like a sentence at most, because you don't want to get too because if you get too involved, they're not going to read it and they're just going to automatically assume that it's no good. So make sure that when you're requesting production access, you are referencing this article, how to answer questions when moving from SES Sandbox to production. John Matthews is asking, how do we set up the tracking cookie? You don't have to. The tracking cookie is automatically set up for your site, which is awesome. So there's absolutely zero things that you have to do in order to enable that process, John. As soon as someone signs up for a form or they click an email tracking link or any of that stuff, they are being their contact tracking cookie is following them around, so you can reference actions that they take on the front end and the back end. So there's zero things that you have to do for that, John. All right, questions. We are open for questions. It is the Q&A period. There are no silly questions. If you have a question, go ahead and pop it in the chat there, and we'll be able to take care of it post haste. All right, I'm not seeing some new questions come in, so hopefully that means I've done my duty as Office Hours Guide in ensuring that everybody learns something, and we've already accomplished information overload, which is always good. So I guess what we'll do now is we'll just start wrapping up. Before I start wrapping up, I do want to mention that if there's anybody on this call who is not currently a customer, as we've identified, from purchasing our plans in our customer journey, that we are currently, or I have cleared my calendar for this week in order to do pre-sales calls and answer questions for people who need questions answered before making a purchasing decision. And yes, I am tracking the number of people who do that and then buy. So if you have questions that you feel need to be answered a little bit further before taking any sort of purchase action and investing in Groundhogg for your business, you will have received an email this morning with a link to book a half hour with yours truly to get any questions that you have answered. I will also dump the link here in the chat. So that you can book your own half-hour session with me. So for anyone still considering using Groundhogg but haven't taken the plunge yet, go ahead, book some time with me, and I will ensure that you feel good about it. So that is Calendly/Groundhogg/launch-grow-scale. Half-hour time slots available. You can either do it with me one-on-one, or I have it set up so that I can take multiple people on at the same time. While I was doing that, it looks like a new question came in from Michael again. Michael's asking, what is the best way to get people to opt in and then take them to a calendar to schedule an appointment so you can follow up with them if they decide not to schedule? So what I would recommend for that is, well, first of all, you're going to need a couple things. You're going to need the calendar set up, which I don't have installed, and I'm not going to go through the process of installing it right now because I think I can explain it in my Google Doc here. So we need a new customer journey, which we can track, which is awesome. So we want someone to sign up, book an appointment. If they don't, follow up. So that's pretty easy, Michael. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need a web form, just a funnel with a web form to start off. You are going to want a name, an email. You can then redirect to a page with your calendar embedded. In your funnel, you can actually track when someone books an appointment for a specific calendar. If they didn't, we can send them reminder emails. In your funnel, it'll look something like this. So step one, we have a web form, the thank you page of which is the calendar. Step two, we have a delay timer for, let's say, an hour. Step three is an email, which is one of your reminder emails to book an appointment. Four, delay. Five, another reminder email. Let's give up after 2 emails. You can add more if you want. Step 6 is a benchmark, which is your appointment booked. So when you have the calendar integration, you will have benchmarks for listening for appointment booked, appointment not booked, etc. So you're going to have a benchmark for appointment booked, and that is when someone is booked, and then you can send an email, thanks for booking. So that is what that funnel looks like. And I will go ahead and I'm going to reply to your comment so you can just go ahead and paste that somewhere. Okay, Michael, hopefully that helps and answers your question. So step 1, web form, the thank you page, which is calendar, collect your name and email. On the calendar, they can go ahead and they can book their appointment. In which case, if they do, then they're going to go ahead and they're actually going to skip all of these reminder emails and they're just going to go straight to the benchmark that says appointment booked. If they don't book, they're of course going to get that delay and then the email, the delay, then the email, and then they will hopefully book at that point. At which case, if they don't, you can give up and they'll abandon. Oakley dokley, let's wrap up office hours for today. So if you need additional resources, in addition to what we discussed here today, we have a lot of avenues for you. So all of our previous office hours recordings are, of course, on Groundhog Academy as well as YouTube. So you can go ahead and watch those. We also have a number of free courses available on those platforms. If you need implementation help because you like to sit back and relax while someone else does the hard work, you can look up our certified partner directory. And we have a number of certified partners all around the world who are just itching to be able to help you get started and get the ball rolling with Groundhog implementation. If you know someone who can use Groundhog, maybe a colleague, a business partner, family member, and they're in desperate need of marketing automation and CRM, well, we think that you should be rewarded if they end up using Groundhog based on your recommendation. You can sign up for an affiliate account, get 10% recurring commissions for lifetime of that customer. If you're not following us on social media, you absolutely should be. We have lots of channels and lots of accounts that you can follow us on. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Handle for all of those is @GroundhogWP. And we'd love to be able to include you in on the conversation that we're constantly having on social media. If you have yet to leave a 5-star review, I'm going to ask that you do. Reviews allow us to do a lot of things. Of course, they allow us to get more customers, allow us to keep the conversation going. More customers means more money means more developers, and we've actually brought on a number of developers recently in order to make Groundhog a lot more superior than it currently is with the impending coming of Groundhog 3. Ooh, I'm going to hint at that a little bit. A lot of people have already seen a few sneak peeks of what Groundhog 3 might look like. So it's super exciting stuff that'll be coming out 2021. So help us get there a little bit faster. Go ahead and leave a 5-star review on our WordPress.org repository page /plugins/Groundhog. If you have additional questions and we weren't able to get to your question, or you felt that your question wasn't answered quite right, you do have recourse. You can, of course, continue to comment on this post. We'll be monitoring. You can go ahead and you can post in the Facebook group. That's what the Facebook group is there for. You can message our live chat, support ticket, email, Twitter, lots of ways that you can get in touch with us to get your questions answered. All right, I want to thank everybody who came on the call today. I know it's a lot to ask business owners for an hour of their time on a Tuesday, so I only appreciate you choosing to spend that time with me. I am extremely appreciative, and I hope that we were able to make that 1 hour of your time worthwhile. Next office hours will be next week. It'll be a 3 p.m. evening call, so 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to be able to see all of you there. Until then, enjoy your week, and I hope everyone the best of luck.